Welcome back to Podcast Bites powered by India Law LLP, where we unpack significant court decisions and help you understand what the law actually says clearly and accurately. I am Tanvi Dalvi, and today's episode takes us into the Punjab and Haryana High Court, where a workplace dispute between an employer and a former employee raised a question that many in the corporate world have probably wondered about. Can a single abusive word sent in a work email amount to sexual harassment under Indian law? The case is Abhishek Shah versus State of Haryana and another, decided on the 18th of April 2026 by Honorable Justice Kirti Singh. The court's answer and the reasoning behind is something every employer, HR professional, and legal practitioner ought to know. Let's go back to where this all began. Abhishek Shah was the director of a company called Commerce X Solutions Private Limited. The complainant respondent number 2 in case had been hired by the company as a business manager by an appointment later in 2018. In October 2018, the company had planned an important organization event, the complainant, being part of the core team managing the events network site, was expected to be present. However, due to health emergency, she applied for 4 days of medical leave via email dated on 16th October 2018. In response, the petitioner sent an email on 17th October requesting her to adjust the timing of her medical procedure so it could be done after the event. What followed was a back and forth of multiple emails on 17th October 2018, during the course of which the petitioner used the words F off in one of the messages. The complainant thereupon conveyed her resignation, which was accepted by email on that the same day. Following the resignation, her official email ID was suspended. She was informed that since she had left without serving notice, 2 months' salary was due as compensation to the company under her appointment letter, though the company ultimately offered her a clear exit via email dated 4th November 2018. A legal notice was then issued on 11th November 2018 requiring the complainant to return or destroy confidential company information and not to engage with the company's clients. The complainant responded on 22nd November, raising claims for unpaid salary, a written apology, legal fees, and a formal memorandum of understanding. Then, over 4 months after her resignation, on 22nd February 2019, the complainant filed FIR number 35 at Police Station Women, Gurgaon, alleging harassment and the use of derogatory and abusive language, invoking Section 354A of the Indian Penal Code, the provision for sexual harassment. The petitioner approached the Punjab and Haryana High Court under Section 482 of the Code of Criminal Procedure, seeking quashing of the FIR and all subsequent proceedings, including the challan filed by the police. First, the FIR was filed 4 months after the alleged incident and, critically, only after the complainant had been served a legal notice for breach of contract. This time, the counsel argued pointed to the FIR being used as a leverage to pressure the petitioner into meeting the complainant's financial and other demands. Second, and this is the crux of the counsel, argued that the utterance of a single abusive word in an email exchange which arose from a work-related disagreement over leave and an organizational event could not constitute sexual harassment under Section 354A IPC. No allegation of unwelcome sexual advance, physical contact, or demand of sexual favors had been made. There was no sexual intent in the remark. The word, though admittedly not made in good taste, had to be read in the context of the entire correspondence, not an isolation. The State Council, on the other hand, submitted that specific allegations had been levied and that of these were matters for trial. The complainant's statement under Section 164 CRPC had already been recorded on 11th March 2019. The complainant's counsel argued that the expression used as a sexually colored remark, which falls squarely within Section 354A IPC, and that the petitioner had misused his position as director to harass and humiliate her. Before we get to the court's finding, let's quickly understand the legal framework. Section 354A of the IPC defines sexual harassment to include 4 categories of acts: physical contact involving unwelcome and explicit sexual overtures, a demand or request for sexual favors, showing pornography against a woman's will, and that is what relied upon here, making sexual colored remarks. For a remark to attract the fourth category, the court looked at whether the expression was instinctively sexual in nature, whether it carried any sexual overtone directed at the modesty or sexually of the complainant. The court applied the four-step test from the Supreme Court's recent ruling in Pradeep Kumar Kesarwani versus State of Uttar Pradesh, Criminal Appeal number 3831 of 2025, which lays out when a high court should exercise its inherent power to quash criminal proceedings. The steps essentially ask: is the material relied upon by the accused solid and credible? Does it rule out the allegations? Has it been refuted by the prosecution? And would continuing the trial constitute an abuse of the process? The court also drew from the landmark state of Haryana versus Bhajanlal 1992 SEC 335, which enumerates the categories of cases where a high court may quash proceedings, including situations where allegations taken at face value do not disclose the ingredients of any offense. Applying this framework, Justice Kirti Singh came to a clear and carefully reasoned conclusion. The court acknowledged without any ambiguity that the expression used by the petitioner was undeniably uncounted and discourteous. But the critical distinction the court drew was this: the word used in its ordinary sense did not carry any sexual overtone or insinuation directed at the modesty or sexuality of the complainant. It arose in the context of a workplace disagreement about a leave request, not from any conduct of a sexual nature. The court further held that a solitary instance of an abusive remark in the absence of any element of sexual intent or a pattern of conduct would not meet the threshold of criminal culpability under Section 354A IPC, a provision specifically intended to address gender-based harassment. In the court's considered opinion, the expression attributed to the petitioner, even taken at face value and in its entirety, lacked the essence ingredients of Section 354A IPC. Continuing the criminal proceedings in such circumstances, the court held, would not serve any useful purpose and would amount to an abuse of the process of law. Accordingly, the petition was allowed. FIR number 35 dated 10th March 2019 under Section 354A IPC, registered at Police Station Women, Gurgaon District, Gurugram, along with all the subsequent proceedings including the challan, were quashed in relation to the petitioner. However, and this is notable, the quashing was not unconditional. The court directed the petitioner to deposit Rs 20,000 in the Poor Patient Welfare Fund at Chandigarh within 1 month. So, why does this judgment deserve your attention? For employers and HR practitioners, it draws a clear distinction. Abusive language in a workplace email, however objectionable, does not automatically constitute sexual harassment under Section 354A IPC. For an expression to qualify as a sexually colored remark under the provision, it must carry an instinct sexual character, context intent, and the nature of the conduct of all matter. For legal practitioners, the judgment is a useful illustration of how courts apply the Bhajanlal categories and the more recent Pradeep Kumar Kesarwani four-step test at the stage of a quashing petition without going into a detailed examination of the disputed facts, but asking whether the basic ingredients of the offense are even disclosed. And more broadly, it is a reminder that criminal provisions designed to protect women from gender-based harassment are serious statutory tools, and their scope must be applied with precision, not stretched beyond what the law intends. That's all in this edition of Podcast Bites powered by India Law LLP. This is Tanvi Dalvi. Until next time, stay informed, stay accurate, and keep the law in focus.